Tatsuki Fujimoto, the elusive mastermind manga artist behind Chainsaw Man, Fire Punch, and a plethora of amazing one-shots. I've covered every Tatsuki Fujimoto work available to find on this very channel, or so I thought. This is the story about unraveling the mystery behind NagatoIsMe, Fujimoto's long-lost alias. October 15th, 2022. I received a Twitter DM from a viewer. It said, "I'm not sure if this is anything because the website is so messy, but I think this might be proof of some sort. It looks like this could be the website that Tetsuki was originally published on. It also seems to have a few more of his earlier works on it too under the name NagatoIsMe." For context, this was in response to my video discussing the earliest known Fujimoto manga, Tetsuki, and in that video I had questioned the legitimacy of whether this one-shot was actually made by Fujimoto. The DMs continued, linking to this site that seemed sketch as fuck, honestly, and I contemplated clicking on them for a while, eventually giving in to my curiosity and arriving at... okay. I'd heard rumors that Fujimoto used to independently upload comics online at around the time he attended high school, and this seemed like it could very well be the homepage for all of that, at least at a surface level glance. The entire site is in Japanese, with the exception of a copyright notice saying the site was created in 2011, which fits the time frame of Fujimoto's teens/early 20s. I browsed around for a while and eventually closed the tab, leaving with no answers but a slew of questions, the biggest one being, is this website actually an early hub for the creative endeavors of the Tatsuki Fujimoto? I let all of this marinate for a while, occasionally searching Google for NagatoIsMe, but not researching the matter seriously. A simple Google search led me to a few forums and Twitter threads of people clearly tying this website to Tatsuki Fujimoto, but I was flabbergasted as to why. How did anyone find this? Why are they so sure it's Fujimoto? Sure, it has the energy, vibe, look, but all of this could be a cleverly orchestrated scam for some clout or to create another internet urban legend. I didn't really know what to think. November 18th. I open the website, whip out Google Translate, and get to work. The banner reads Nagato, Nagato, Nagato. I think to myself, I'm going to have nightmares of that name by the end of this. The main image on the front page is a childish drawing of a character holding a sword upside down with the text "color picture." Not really sure if we're being urged to color the picture or if it's some pun I don't understand, but I digress. The about page doesn't really offer a lot either. There's just a text that reads, "NagatoIsMe, I'm good at playing the piano." As weird as it sounds, this kinda reminds me of the way Fujimoto tweets, but that's about it. On the comics page, which is the most content-filled page on the entire site, we have another hectic, childish doodle with the text "Manga Sukiba," which means something along the lines of "Manga is my favorite," I think. Keep in mind I'm using Google Translate and it says Sukiba means favorite place, which doesn't really make sense. These translations and my interpretations of them are bound to be flawed when it comes to the nitty-gritty details, but overall I think they get the point across. This doodle actually appears to be the Pokemon Wooper. I thought I remembered something about Wooper being Fujimoto's favorite Pokemon, but research didn't confirm that, so maybe that's not the most important thing here. I click on a link that reads Tettere, and lo and behold, it's Tetsuki, the one-shot that the hardcore Fujimoto fanbase has determined to be his earliest known work. Even though I still have my, I'd say, reasonable doubts at this point, it's obvious that this looks like an early Fujimoto work. The main character is drawn in the same distinct style as his later characters. He has a different approach to drawing faces than most manga artists even today, and definitely back in the day 10 years ago. Also, the atmosphere of this almost screams early Fire Punch to me. English translations of this can be found on some sketchy manga sites if you want to check it out for yourself. The second manga is called Digimon, or Digimon? This one shows no related results, but again, looks and feels like an early Fujimoto one-shot. It's about love and astronauts and angels and meteors and destruction as far as I can gather, and overall seems much more polished than Tetsuki. Next up, there's a segment in the comics page that says Others, and upon clicking on it, holy shit. Murige, Shipkick, Tomorrow Game, AC, Legend, Space Girl, Witch. There's so fucking many! I decided to return to these later and went back to look at the music section. Here we have no doodles, just text that reads, "Formerly the First Men, AKB member, and in parentheses, SMAP is better. AKB is a Japanese all-girls idol group, SMAP used to be a Japanese boy band, and I have no idea what formerly the first men is supposed to mean. I'm going to chalk all this up to grade A shit posting honestly, which fits Fujimoto. The first link on this site called Good Food brings us to... No fucking way. If you've heard anything about the fuckery that Fujimoto has allegedly engaged in online over the years, you've heard this song. It's him singing about, like, milk and shit, while hitting the open strings of a guitar, seemingly without a care in the world. It's a bop, honestly. That confirms it, right? Everyone knows this is Fujimoto. The website is legit. NagatoIsMe equals Tatsuki Fujimoto, right? Well, at this point I remembered something I obviously should have immediately examined, a Twitter link at the front page. The first inconsistency. November 21st. So there's a few options. One, this entire site is fake, and this is the scammer's Twitter profile. Even my skeptic ass finds that hard to believe though, as there are a couple of things on the site that people seem to heavily associate with Fujimoto on both the English and Japanese sides of the fanbase. Additionally, with the sheer amount of effort that has clearly gone into making these comics, it doesn't make sense to me that a supposedly aspiring artist wouldn't post their art on their own site and or socials and instead make a scam out of it and pretend to be Fujimoto. The second option, albeit an even less likely one, this is Fujimoto's secret alt account. Yeah, there's no universe in which an alt of his would stay this low key, but I guess it can't hurt to check what the account is posting, right? So nothing really, just mainly commenting on music related stuff, but at the very bottom there's a link to a YouTube playlist that seems to be a Japanese amateur podcast of some sort. There's a fuck ton of these, and all I'm getting from the first few minutes with auto-generated subtitles is two dudes chatting shit. Okay, last thing, let's check the latest uploads. Yeah, I think the international best-selling manga author Tatsuki Fujimoto isn't posting shit like this on his alt accounts. The third, and to me, most likely option, Fujimoto used to have a Twitter account with the @NagatoIsMe, but deleted it, and someone created an account with the same oblivious to its history, and now the link leads to this new account since the URL address is the same. And I actually have something that proves this is not the first NagatoIsMe. A simple search on Wayback Machine shows that there's a snapshot from this URL dating back to April 24th, 2016, more than 4 years before this account's creation. However, it shows up as an empty page. One snapshot, however, from November 2020 reveals NagatoIsMe, created in 2015. That proves us there's been at least 2 accounts under the same and while this older one doesn't quite align with the date of the website, just the proof of its existence makes me inclined to believe there very well could have been a third one, likely the original one back in 2011. Once I got to messing around with Wayback Machine, I decided to check the main site as well, which didn't directly give any results. It did, however, make me check out F2C, a part of the URL I'd previously paid no attention to, and it turned out to be the service that was used to create the site. I found out F2C was last updated in 2019, which made me convinced that this site is at the very least not a scam that was created in the last couple of years, which was my biggest fear about it. I was relieved, thinking the pieces are bound to fall into place eventually. November 22nd. I returned to the music page, which I remembered contained one link I hadn't opened yet. I translate it, and it literally says Fujimoto. I'd gone on this insane derail just to come back and realize I'd completely missed what could turn out to be the single most crucial piece of verification on the entire website. I click on it, a YouTube video pops up, and you can't be serious. The one thing that possibly ties all of this to Fujimoto doesn't exist anymore, and it's been removed for violating terms of service? What the fuck could that be? At this point, I failed to realize something obvious and went with my immediate thought, which was, this had to be a link to the levitation video. I don't really know why I thought that, but a video has been circulating the internet for a while now of what appears to be a young Fujimoto levitating. I don't know what you're all saying. Attempted for? This man flew. With the singing and levitating videos being so closely tied to each other as online Fujimoto gems, my theory was that they might have been right here, right next to each other on the original site. And I know you're thinking, why would this be on the music section? Like, I don't know what to tell you, dude, this is music to the eyes. I was of course dead fucking wrong, because as I'd realized, I'd forgotten to check the archives for the channel that the Good Food song was uploaded to. Went ahead and did that, and wouldn't you know it, a second video was up on the channel as recently as 1 year ago. There's no thumbnail, but a title remains, which reads, "Praise the Fujimoto family, fun grapefruit." Yeah, sure. This is without a shadow of a doubt the deleted video. I searched the title and ran into something I'd actually found through many different search methods before, a Nico Nico account with the name NagatoIsMe. Nico Nico is a Japanese video site that unfortunately doesn't work outside of Japan. This account acts as a kind of central hub for the deep dive into individual sections of the NagatoIsMe site. The Good Food song, Fun Grapefruit song, and Levitating video are all over here, confirming that the Levitating Man, Milk Song guy, and NagatoIsMe are all in fact the same guy. Now all we need to figure out is this guy Tatsuki Fujimoto? Something I want to know is that there's a link called Link on the front page, which leads to a virtual diary of the website creator. Apparently Nagato or Fujimoto is not the creator, go figure. After digging around, I arrived at the Twitter account of the creator, which was registered in 2009, fitting the time frame of all of this, making me believe the 2011 date that much more. Returning to the comics section, I take a look at the remaining manga. Starting with Murige, the link brings us to an external site, and holy shit, that's a lot of chapters. This one has the biggest rough sketch vibe out of any of the manga so far, but something I'd like to note is it starts out the exact same way as Fire Punch, with a chopped off hand. I'm not going to put you viewers or myself through the mind-numbing process of trying to shittily translate all of this. I hope that's okay. Ship Kick also contains a lot of chapters. Again, clearly a very early version of something. This time, at the bottom of the page, there's an author comment which reads, "I hope I will be accepted to the university. Nagato, let's send a letter of encouragement to my teacher, and let's send a lot of FA." The first sentence seems like a pretty obvious diary entry, proving that this person has likely just finished up high school and is now applying to uni, which fits the time frame Fujimoto attended art university, graduating 3 years later in 2014. The second part actually seems like the Google translator kind of messed it up a bit. I'm guessing it's meant to urge the readers to leave fan art and feedback to Nagato. There's a whole fan art section on this site, and Nagato seems to have received a lot of it, comparing it to the lack of comments on the chapters themselves. Now, I could totally see Fujimoto ironically creating a fan art section just to upload his own art on there as a joke, but I'm guessing these are from other aspiring manga artists of the time. There was likely a scene around back then where people did stuff like this as a form of networking, and that's kind of what the rough translations lead me to believe as well. This second site is called Namakurimu, by the way, a phrase continuously repeated in the Good Food song that, from my understanding, refers to a Japanese canned beverage. I swear this is the most fucked game of Cluedo I've ever played, dude. I actually think Ship Kick might be one of the biggest clues that could connect all of this to Fujimoto, since he might have made a reference to it in one of his most recent stories. In Look Back, the protagonist Fujino makes her big break in the manga world with a series called Shark Kick, and the way Shark Kick works in the story is obviously more of a reference to Chainsaw Man than anything, but I find it hard to believe this is a mere coincidence. Alas, there's no real way of proving this, so take that with a grain of salt, but to me, it seems like a huge clue. After Ship Kick, 3 of the links lead to a site called Nietzsche, but 2 of them don't work anymore. The one for Legend still works though. It's a short one-shot about a guy who's afraid of a morning alarm. Aren't we all? And Nietzsche is actually a huge website where people upload their own manga, and it's still used to this day. The upload year for Legend is 2011, and this officially convinced me that the 2011 date for NagatoIsMe was completely legit. You can make a fake copyright date like that on a small website very easily, but a popular website like this with a huge database has to have accurate information for the upload dates. And every manga I'd looked at so far was clearly made by the same person, so I can't imagine anyone finding all of them from all these different sources and deciding to make a scam website out of it. It doesn't make any sense, and the entire idea of this being a scam wasn't a very sensible one to begin with, I acknowledge that, but the fact that there's no known instance of Fujimoto himself referring to this site in interviews, etc., means it was a possibility. The next link leads us to a giant girl appears in space on a website called NagatoIsMe, the first and only instance of any indication of a surname for Nagato. NagatoIsMe shows up with no results, however. I simplified the URL and arrived at yet another completely new site, a summer manga project Nagato participated in back in 2011. November 23rd. This site contains A Giant Girl Appears in Space by Nagato and 4 one-shots by other artists. One of the links no longer works and one is porn, but this proves that Nagato was part of some sort of scene, and I assume at least some of the fan art on Namakurimu was made by these people. There's a link called Recruitment, but it no longer works. At the bottom, there's an author comment that reads, "A group of married women. Let's send a letter of encouragement to a group teacher who likes married women." This last part has an embedded link on it that leads to... I think we get the picture, right? Upon researching, I found a Twitter thread that led me to a Pixiv account people are claiming to belong to Fujimoto. It's called Koharu Chang-san, and the art style is definitely Fujimoto. One of the characters is literally a character called Nayuta from one of his one-shots. A Twitter link from this profile leads us to Fujimoto's account, on which he pretends to be his younger sister, but that's not really that important. So I'll be bold and make the assumption that this is in fact one of Fujimoto's accounts. Unfortunately, there's nothing that ties it to NagatoIsMe. The very last thing left to look at on the original site is a manga called Witch. The cover art immediately made me think Power from Chainsaw Man. The title reads something along the lines of Cat Girl Maid Twin Tail Magical Girl Ganare. Bruh. The very first panel immediately felt familiar. It looks like the Tsutomu inspired environment style that we see a more polished version of in Chainsaw Man. I know that might be reaching, this is still very rough, but that was my immediate thought. Nothing else really stands out about this one, but with that, I'd explored every nook and cranny of this website and the websites it led to. At this point, I wrote out a conclusion to the script, recorded everything, and was ready to roll one and call it a day. But I'll level with you, your boy had to take a dump, and while I was at it, I realized I'd completely neglected using Twitter as a search engine. So I sit there, I type in NagatoIsMe, scroll down, and find heaps of replies dating all the way back to 2011 and 2012. The tweets these accounts are replying to don't exist as the original NagatoIsMe has been deleted, but there's a lot of these. One of them is from the official account of Sui Ishida, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul. Fujimoto and Ishida have both gone on record to say they enjoy each other's work, and if Fujimoto had enough of a presence as NagatoIsMe, which he obviously did based on all the replies to his old tweets, it's not unlikely that the two would have had some of their first interactions as far as over a decade ago. But this is what did it. I found a tweet replying to NagatoIsMe from a regular, unverified account. I opened the profile and it is currently being followed by Nagayama Koharu, the Twitter account ran by Tatsuki Fujimoto. I was so fucking shocked. I was already convinced at this point, but after this I found another Twitter account that had replied to NagatoIsMe over 10 years ago that is currently being followed by Nagayama Koharu. The odds of this being a coincidence are abysmally low, and while this is still not concrete evidence as in a statement from Tatsuki Fujimoto himself, with the odds of this coincidence being so low, I consider this conclusive. The mystery was solved. This entire website, all these works, shitposts and lore were produced by Tatsuki Fujimoto over a decade ago, and they're all out there for you to check out and enjoy. I truly hope you enjoyed going on this insane ride with me. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. I hope to see you again, and peace.